You can't mess with people's money. They get very
No,
angry.
you cannot.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we have a special guest, Ajmal Samuel. He is the CEO and founder of FTS.money. And Ajmal, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture at FTS.money?
Okay, so thank you very much, first of all. Yeah. So FTS.money itself, it's a financial infrastructure company. And I'll give you a little bit of a background how FTS.money came about and when it came about. So in so in 2024, we have been observing the market for a while. Obviously, FTS.money, the name itself would indicate that it is something to do with financial services. Yeah. So, but one of the things which distinguishes FTS.money from rest of the businesses, financial services, it actually does not deal with financial services as such. What we do is we provide the financial infrastructure or the infrastructure, technical infrastructure behind the companies who want to build the new fintechs or the new or even the existing old payment companies or wallets, etc. So that was the whole idea, and that's what we have been doing actually for the last 15 years or so. I saw a need in the market at that time, together with one of my co-founders in 2009, that within the payment space, there is several different silos. For example, there's card present, card not present, or at that time mobile. And now crypto is being added, and other different methods are being added on top of that payment infrastructure. But none of these infrastructures talk to each other. So there was no actually way to integrate them together. So that's how Octa 3 came about. That's how we set up Octa 3. And eventually, 2024, the need was coming up. Why don't you provision us a wallet? Because banking world is becoming more and more difficult. Yeah. So that's how there was another company I was working with in Pakistan who were doing a lot of our development work, Evant itself. And we came to an agreement with them that they were going to move their fintech portfolio, basically all intellectual property, which was related to cross-border remittances, which was related to digital banks and wallets, etc., and many other things, ATM infrastructure, into a new holding company, which was FTS.money. And Octo 3 would move its payment infrastructure into FTS.money. So suddenly we will have overarching white labeled cloud-based infrastructure for practically all fintech related services, which could be provisioned to customers. So that's how FTS.money came into being, and that's basically a rough background of the company. So you know how techies are. So the techies sometimes get too carried away with building technology, and the focus goes away from really building the business. For example, a small payment company would use the whole end-to-end infrastructure. But some new payment companies or some existing payment companies, existing players, they'll use some components which they're missing and they don't want to build out. And they will leverage our infrastructure to reach or to route or do whatever functionality they want to implement.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's very expensive to hire a team of developers and create all that infrastructure yourself.
Yeah, and also the very fact that the technology these days is moving so fast. So either you keep an eye on your business or you keep an eye on your technology. So it's very something sort of it's a distraction all the time. It's a paradox, literally, because how do you build a business? You focus on business or you focus on technology. And I think that is why I am in the financial services and payments business, but there are many other white label cloud-based technologies available these days as well. And that is the reason they are thriving, because the reason is you don't want to build them out. You just use them and go in and use them, and then suddenly your productivity level go up because It's all built out, and somebody's keeping an eye on the industry, where the industry is moving.
Yeah. You can't keep your eye on everything all at once.
Not possible these days,
Yeah.
especially these days. These days, even for example, when I get up in the morning, I will read the industry news, what's happened yesterday. And sometimes it is unbelievable because the industry that it has moved so fast to the next step, the next level, next level. The whole, for example, the whole AI revolution is changing things, how we do things and how we execute and implement technology.
Yeah. And you mentioned a little bit how, you're reading the daily news about what's changing. What does a typical day look like for you?
For me, as the CEO and the founder of the company, then I would look into what's the new projects happening because I have teams in different places and coordinate with the teams, work with what are the deliverables, what needs to be done, etc. And then, of course, these days everybody works remotely, so there's a lot of meetings the whole day, basically consumed by Zoom calls or Google Meets or whatever, trying to connect with people and trying to, again, based on whatever is going on in the market, trying to make sure that we stay up to date. Because if you don't stay up to date, you're history.
I love that. And that actually leads into what I was going to ask next. Given that you look at trends the first thing in the morning, what major shifts are you seeing in your industry right now?
There are many, many things happening. Asia is a market which is growing and huge potential. So everybody's looking at Asia. So in the past, what was happening was there were payment instruments were like Visa, MasterCard, or American Express, or JCB, or these type of products which were used by people to make online payments or in-store payments or retail payments, etc. But what we are seeing increasingly is that alternative payment methods are taking over. Means every country has their own local payment wallets, and these wallets are becoming more and more prevalent. And even to the point that sometimes, not sometimes, but as a matter of fact, the big boys like Visa, Master, they are investing in these companies, these local wallets, because they are the ones who provide the local ecosystem for payments. So this is one of the trends. For example, if you, I'm in Hong Kong again, China, look just across the border up north in China, there's hardly any cash, nobody carries any cash anymore. So it's either Alipay or WeChat or some of the local payments methods. So it is all becoming localized, localized, localized. But at the same time, there's another issue with localization. When you have localized payments, that means most of the liquidity for the people, for the consumers, sits in their local wallets. So if the liquidity is sitting in local wallets, it is difficult for them to make international purchases. So this is one of the things which is actually one of the new trends which is happening to make these local wallets available internationally. That's one of the trends. And then another trend which is happening is, of course, the introduction of crypto, whether it is stable coins or whether it is Bitcoin or whatever, as a payment method. So there are many, many merchants who want to have, or many payment companies which want to make these payments methods available as well. And that's another big trend which we see in our space, that not only just fiat-based payment methods, but crypto-based payment methods as well.
You need the tools. We have the tools. Here you go.
Yeah, that's right.
So you've mentioned that that trend is positively impacting you. What else is working well for you and what's been frustrating?
Okay, when it comes to working well is I'll go back a couple of years. So when COVID hit the whole world, it was a very interesting time for payment infrastructure providers and payment companies like us, because suddenly the transactions moved from retail to e-commerce. So everybody was literally everybody, because people couldn't go out. So they were actually ordering things online to the point now that it has become not only a thing to be done in a crisis, but it has become a natural thing. So now everybody, I'm talking about Asia. I know in other parts of the world, people are already used to ordering things online and they are doing that for some time. But in Asia, it was still a retail driven marketplace. But now in Asia, even groceries are ordered online. So even like fruits, vegetables, people order them online and they would be delivered at home. So it's become that whole industry, or because of that particular crisis, developed into something which was good for us.
Yeah, I've been in the tech sector a lot, and you always gotta leave your code as good as you can so that other people that come along can also work on it.
Exactly. So that's a good practice. Not many people follow this practice, but that's a good practice. Yeah.
Which metrics are you most focused on improving?
So in our case, again, in FTS.money's case, um, we have many different portfolios. Okay, we have payments, we have wallet services, we have, for example, um, cross-border remittances and all of that. But let's again just go to payments. When it comes to payments, our metric, what we are looking at all the time is how many more payment companies are we going to get on board. Another matrix is how to generate as much revenue, or what are the revenue targets for FTS.money.
How many new payment providers could you really take on? So, for example, in the US, I'm thinking like Visa, MasterCard, those, but it could also be like Alipay, right? As a payment processor.
So actually, let me just differentiate uh, what you just mentioned: Visa, Mastercard, Alipay, WeChat. These type of payment methods, they are payment methods. Yeah, they are not really payment service providers. The payment service providers are companies like Adyen or WorldPay, etc. These are the companies who are our customers. Visa, Mastercard, Alipay, WeChat are our partners. So when they are our partners and we connect to these companies to provision their services or their acceptance to our customers who are the payment companies. And in turn, so a payment service provider like WorldPay or like Adyen, one of these big payment companies, potentially would be our customer. And once they use our services, they get connectivity to payment methods like Visa, MasterCard. Every fintech company coming out, they have their own idea. But in the core infrastructure is almost the same. What they build, the business on top is different.
Where do you want to be the next 6 to 12 months from now?
Good question. Of course, I want to be able to say in another 6 to 12 months that I have a growth of maybe 30, 40, 50% growth on my customer base. And the minute that growth comes up, the transaction volume goes up for me as well, which both of these metrics are very important.
Okay. And if you had a magic wand to fix just one thing in your business that's holding you back or slowing you down from increasing to that 30, 40%, what would that one thing be?
Innovation. Innovation and also execution, because when you have such big platforms in place, to move these platforms to the next stage, the next level, where you can say, oh, I'm now competing with company A, company B, company C. We want to be able to move fast. But with the legacy technology, sometimes it's difficult to move fast to get to that point where we can say, hey, we are actually better than you. And that's one of the challenges for us, because we have a legacy infrastructure, and that's where I need a magic wand of, okay, suddenly everything becomes modern. Yeah, that's so how to take that infrastructure, all that functionality, repackage it, make sure it looks very 2027, 2026, and then get it out of the market.
That is an amazing uptime, by the way. Maybe this
Yeah,
other team that you mentioned that, got their product up and working in a year, maybe they only have a 90% uptime, you know?
yeah. In our case, we cannot afford because we are supporting multiple businesses, and these businesses are financial in nature. Imagine you're servicing multiple businesses in multiple jurisdictions globally. How will you explain that, oh, my system went out and I can't process in Latin America, I can't process your transactions in Asia, I can't process your transactions I don't know, in Europe, I can't process your transactions. So that's the challenge we all face, yeah, which we face. And this is based on that philosophy, we built our infrastructure.
You can't mess with people's money. They get very
No,
angry.
you cannot.
So, Ajmal, I love all the insights that we've gained on the podcast here today. If any of our listeners want to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to do so?
The best way is to go to fts.money, the website, and you can find a lot of information. We also have social media presence like LinkedIn. You can go to fts.money's page and find more information, and or just send an email to info@fts.money, and we'll be there to provide information to you.
That sounds great. Well, like I said, it's been a pleasure. I love hearing about your story. I know that there's so much more to your story than what we got into today, but thank you for sharing. And for our
Thank
listeners, don't
you.
forget to like and subscribe.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.